You ever felt like you're sabotaging all your GLP-1 work? Are we ruining our shot? Are we stopping our weight loss? Are we doing this on purpose? Hi, I'm Lori, and this is GLP-1 Journey in Review. Today, we're going to talk about it. I wanted to talk about this because I had that feeling that I was doing that. Now, let me explain it to you a little more detail. I've been thinking about going on vacation in a few weeks as I always struggle about whether I'm going to lower my shot, change the day, whatever. But this really isn't about this. This is right now about 2.5 weeks before I go away. And I've been doing really well. I've been watching what I eat. And to me, I think I made a little bit of a mistake in doing this. I have a routine of having my protein shake in the morning. I usually start at around 10 o'clock. I start work at like 5, 5:30. I just don't really like anything in my stomach before that. And I've been having the same protein shake. I decided to, I used to use Thrive by Lavelle and went off of it. Now, with that, I would get a variety of different types of shakes. And I decided too much caffeine in them. And they also have a lot of pre and probiotic, which I take a pre and probiotic in several different things. So I thought I might be overdoing it a bit. So I went ahead and I bought one of these big jugs. And my favorite flavor of this month happens to be mint chocolate chip. And there's not a lot of companies that make it. And I found one that I pretty much liked, and it was pretty good. But I've been having it now for like 12 days in a row. And pretty much my lunch has been the same. According to my wife, I make a killer turkey chili, and I've changed it a bit since we've been on GLP-1 and having it more ground turkey than beans, but still having enough in there to call it a nice chili. And for some reason, I usually have guests and stuff, and I can't seem to make a small batch unless I only get a small amount of ground turkey. And I usually do want enough for at least one dinner and a couple of lunches, or two dinners and maybe one lunch. But for some reason, I knew I had a big work week coming up, and I wanted to basically have it for like 3 or 4 lunches. And the same thing, my wife wanted it. So I made it, and I basically had it for dinner, and then I had it for the next 4 days for lunch. And let me back up a little bit. This whole chili thing started because, when I was at work, I wasn't feeling too good, and I did bring my lunch with me, but I decided I was gonna walk over to Publix and get some soup because they have a salad bar and a soup bar. And didn't really like their soups, but they had chili, and I know that they had good chili. And I'm like, I kind of like this chili. So that kind of got me into this chili kick. And when I went home and told my wife, she's like, "Oh, make your chili." Yeah. So that kind of what started it. Then I was done with that chili, and my wife goes, "I'm not really done with the chili. Can you make some more?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm going to make a small amount." So, I only bought 1 pound of ground turkey, and I forgot that I also had some in the refrigerator. So basically, I had 2 pounds of ground turkey. So lo and behold, it was another big batch. So basically, for like 8 or 9 days in a row, I had chili. And I like my chili, don't get me wrong. It was fine, but it got to the point where I was at work one day thinking, gee, what could I have? Because I don't know if I really want this chili. I'm like, nah, I brought it. I'm going to eat the chili. And one of my coworkers said, I'm running over to Wawa's for breakfast. Do you want anything? And I'm like thinking, wow, it's like 10 o'clock in the afternoon. Instead of having my protein shake, if I actually eat a breakfast, I'm not going to want much for lunch. So, I'll only have a couple bites of chili. Well, it wasn't a super healthy, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was a croissant sandwich with turkey and cheese and egg, which wasn't too bad, but it's definitely more than what I would eat. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking, okay, it's time to heat up the chili, let me have a couple bites. And lo and behold, somebody's like, I made brownies. Would you like one? And came with this big platter of brownies. I'm like, all right, I'll just have a bite or two. Well, it turned out rather than eat the chili, I ate the brownie. And I was kind of feeling like, oh, like I was eating too much bad food. And you know how you just get that blah feeling? I was having it. So, I went home and I had my normal factor meal for dinner and I had my fruit and so forth. And next day, there I am bringing that same little container of chili with me to work. And, this time I actually had my protein shake. And all of a sudden, somebody goes, cupcakes in the lounge. Had a cupcake, again, thinking I'm not going to eat as much chili, which I didn't. The, my thing of chili lasted for 2 days, but I was kind of trying to find food to eat instead of the chili. So, was I sabotaging? Could I stop? I don't know. And part of this, I was thinking of I'm going on vacation, and when I go on vacation, there's usually one day that I overeat and get that too full feeling. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, maybe I could kind of like get that feeling now, get it out of the way so I don't do it while I'm on vacation because, I like to go out and do things. I don't want to be sitting there, blah, I don't feel like doing anything because I ate too much, too big of a meal and so forth. So, I played a small part. I don't think that was mainly it. And I'm hoping that that does help because I go on vacation in about a week. This video might come out while I'm on vacation. So backtrack that and I'll give you the answer afterwards. But I don't think that was the main reason. I think one of the biggest lessons that I am learning is I need a little bit more variety. I tend to be one of these people, I have my 3 or 4 things that I have for lunch. Occasionally, I'll have a leftover or something different, but I think I got to rotate them and not have the same thing all week or even for 2 weeks because it just gets a little boring. So, in the meantime, I bought another flavor of protein. These are big containers that you have to buy, so it's gonna last a while. Plus, and sometimes instead of having the protein shake, I'll have a Profi, which, I'll take the protein shake, add some powdered espresso so that I could, still get most of the protein shake over ice. And then sometimes I'll add some sugar free or a 0 calorie, I think Skinny Girl or one of the companies that make these 0 calories syrups that you could put into the coffees and so forth. So I've been having that sometimes instead of my protein shake, and I think that this is working to give me a little bit of variety. Now, while I was doing this for those 3 days, I gained like 6 pounds. I know I didn't eat enough calories for that. Was it because I had just finished my antibiotic from being sick? Was it because too much change? Maybe there was more salt in the sandwich that I ate. I know I didn't really add much salt to the chili, so I don't think that that was it. Maybe from the Publix chili and so forth. So, you know, lesson learned. I'm going to have a little bit more variety. And again, I always have not had a problem with if somebody has homemade brownie or homemade cupcake having a little bit now and then. Again, I usually don't do this more than once or twice a month, and sometimes I don't even finish it. I'll just take a bite or two because this is a lifestyle. This is, how we're going to be from now on. And to say I'm never going to eat a piece of cake or a cupcake or a brownie or a breakfast sandwich is ridiculous because that's not going to happen. Just to give you an example is I'm covering for somebody who is on a medical leave. So now my hours are basically 6 in the morning to 8:30 at night. Well, I don't want to come home and eat a big meal. So I'm bringing my dinner, what I would normally have my factor meal for lunch, and then I'm coming home and having something lighter like a breakfast sandwich, but, I'll make it uh, they make the breakfast sandwiches where it's 2 eggs with a turkey sausage and the egg pieces are acted instead of the bread. I forget the name of them, Delights makes them, or even a regular Delight breakfast sandwich on an English muffin, have that for dinner, something a little bit lighter, and, that's how I'm handling it. So, I'm gonna have breakfast sandwiches. I'm not huge on breakfast, so they may not be at breakfast time. I do enjoy a good breakfast for dinner, and this is a little bit lighter. I could microwave it. I think it's a minute and a half on, defrost and then another 30 or 40 seconds on cook. So, within a couple minutes after I get home, I get to eat my breakfast sandwich and it's a lighter dinner so that I, again, I'm usually in bed by 9. If I don't get off till 8, 8:15, by the time I get home, it's 8:30ish, make it, it's quarter to 9. It's almost my bedtime. So, you don't want anything heavy. I'm staying up a little bit later because I know it's, short term. If I lose an extra 45 minutes of sleep, no big deal because I'm not going to make a habit of that. Again, I want to remind everybody sleep is very important in this process. So, lesson learned. I don't think I was really sabotaging it, but I could have almost seen me keep on track with that. And if I did, I would have had to have some serious thoughts with myself on what I'm gonna do. Maybe it would have been time to increase my dosage on maintenance, at least for a while. But I was able to take care of it pretty much on my own. But, that was another thought in being in maintenance. Sometimes you do have to alter your dose a little bit. I know that 5 was too little. I kind of slowly went up to 7.5. I've gone down to like a halfway between there and been okay for a week or two, but then, a little bit things like this start happening and I'm like, nope, 7.5 seems to be that magic number. And I know there's a possibility that one day I'm going to go up to, maybe halfway between or even up to 10 and maybe slowly go down. It's maintenance is new to me. Maintenance is new to a lot of people. We're figuring it out and that just might be part of it. So let me know in the comments below if you feel that you're ever sabotaging your journey or your weight loss. I'd like to hear and find out how you took care of it and if you've done anything about it.